I consumed a fair amount of alcohol in the last 20 years. I think the culture that we grow up in probably shapes that to a large degree.
Alcohol is not your friend.
I know.
Do what the fuck I said. So thank you so much for doing this. Our mission is huge. We want to end the concept of mental illness and talk about brain health.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
I read your history, looked at your scans, I looked at your testing. We'll go over all of it. So I have a good idea what's going on, but I want to hear from you, your goal.
Well, I don't have any alarming problems, I don't think. I mean, in many ways, I feel like this is a little preventative. I am a fan of yours and I have read your book and I'm I'm doing all these things every day, I think, that are empowering me and choosing things that love me back, like we've all learned. But, I look into my past a little bit and I'm like, I wasn't always operating that way. I consumed a fair amount of alcohol in the last 20 years. That is very much changing for me personally. I've drastically cut my alcohol intake. So I guess I'm curious there, kind of maybe cumulatively what might have, the effects been. Are those showing up in my brain and what I can do about it now? And then also just, being a 48-year-old woman, I'm really taking inventory of my total health so that I can be here for another, 40 years. And I have struggled lately with some memory lapse and brain fog and just not being cognitively as sharp as I used to be. So I just want to kind of look under the hood and see if you see anything and, again, what I can do to just be living optimally. That's really what I'm here. It's just what can I kind of learn from today, learn from you and what you see to move forward in the best possible way.
Love that. When did the brain fog start?
Probably 2-ish years ago, maybe, and it's just gotten a little bit worse.
Have you had COVID?
Yes.
When?
I had COVID in July of 21, and then I had COVID again in August of 22. And it took me out, by the way.
Did you notice brain fog after either one of them?
I don't recall remembering brain fog. I definitely had prolonged fatigue.
COVID causes this inflammatory bomb that goes off in your brain. And, I often think whenever we're dealing with fatigue or brain fog, it's what are the things that stack to create it? Because then we have to take apart the stack.
Yeah.
And I'll show you in your brain, there is some inflammation.
Interesting.
So if we could calm it down, which we can, that would be good.
Okay, cool.
So mostly preventive. Reshaping your thoughts about alcohol, diet, sleeping patterns. Alcohol is not your friend.
I know.
Increases the risk of 7 different kinds of cancer. Trouble sleeping through the night. Brain fog, some word finding. Alzheimer's on your mom's side, and you have one of the E4 genes. So you want to be serious. Your brain in no way, shape, or form looks like it's headed for Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So
good. And is that sometimes the case for somebody at 48 even? You can even see it at my age if it were there?
One of my great friends, Lisa Gibbons' mother and grandmother died with Alzheimer's. I'm like, you need to come see me. And she's like, no. Then she went through a divorce, got depressed, and came to see me. And which is public. She and I shared this story. Her brain was awful. And I'm like, we need to fix this. And she just did what I asked her to do. I don't know if you've seen the new docuseries, Stutz, by Jonah Hill.
Portions of it.
It's great.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I stole one line from Dr. Stutz would tell Jonah or all of his patients, like, do what the fuck I said.
Yes.
And so she just did what I said and got better.
Yes.
So I stole it. I'm like, just do what the fuck I said.
But I get that because I hear that a lot, like in medicine and working with doctors, like people don't always adhere to what the doctor, it's like, here's the protocol, here's what you can do, here's the plan, but people just still don't do it.
Right.
Do
In fact,
fuck I say.
81% of patients lie to their doctors. I'm like, don't lie to me. Because then you're just wasting our time.
Yeah.
You whacked your head a little bit. In fact, I'm going to ask you about that because I can see a bit of a dent. Tell me about this episode. Do you remember?
I do remember this. This was at a YMCA when I was about 5, and it was a swim lesson. And I remember that it was like a lap situation, and I was just freestyle, learning how to swim and going a very long distance, and just got real committed to my stroke. And, like I think a lot of kids do, I just hit my chin on the very edge of the pool when I got to the end, not knowing I was at the end. And it was pretty bloody, and I did have stitches, and you can maybe even see I have a little bitty scar still today from that. That's one trauma. And then interestingly enough, this is so bizarre, like, because you guys have asked me so many times, did you have any traumas? And I was like, no, I really can't think of any. And then the minute I'm in the brain scan today, I thought of one more. Does that happen?
All the time.
That's so crazy.
In fact, people go, no. Oh, I fell out of a moving vehicle going 30 miles an hour.
Yes. So maybe the reason I didn't remember this as much is because I was really young, and I don't really remember this. But at 2, my parents had a horse farm, and I did walk behind a horse. I was kicked in the chest from the horse, but I was up in the air and literally came down and did have a concussion. And that was 2, and I did end up in the hospital for that. Yeah.
So, toxins. Alcohol was heavier. So tell me about that.
Yeah. I think the culture that we grow up in probably shapes that to a large degree, I should say.
30 beer commercials during the Super Bowl.
All of it. I mean, the commercials, the marketing, yes, exactly that. The way it's positioned in society as a whole today is even just mind-blowing. Then I wake up a certain day and I'm like, why am I doing hot yoga? Why am I running half marathons? Why am I like having this flourishing career, taking all the supplements, feeding my brain with all the best books, and then I have 3 margaritas at the end of the day? It absolutely is the most counterintuitive thing to do ever, right? Like, let me feed and nourish myself, and then I'm gonna poison myself. It's like I finally had that unlock.
The guilt is coming in with the pleasure, and it's ruining the pleasure.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And now what ends up happening, like, you and I have discussed, and I've heard you say this, through some of your platforms, and I really do agree with you. I do, and I hope that 10 years from now, people are talking about alcohol the way they were about cigarettes. It's like, really? Why? It's just, it doesn't compute when you know the facts.
All right, let's look at your brain. We do a study called SPECT, and SPECT looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. It's different than a CAT scan or an MRI. Those are anatomy studies. They show what the brain actually physically looks like. We're looking at function.
Okay.
And it basically tells us 3 things: good activity, too little, or too much. And then my job is to balance it. Now, if we look at yours, you have a pretty good looking brain.
Yes.
This team has seen a lot of brains, and most of them don't look this big.
Oh, that's great.
Your boyfriend's a lucky guy. Because, like, the rule in my family is if you date one of my children, I'm scanning.
Why? Because a good brain means I'm not a psychopath? Is that what you
A
mean?
good brain means you can be a good partner.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Because if you think about it, if your brain controls everything you do, how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you love, how you inhibit, you don't say every stupid thing you think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Means you can be a good partner. Anyways, all right. So you have a beautiful brain. This part right here in the front can be better. And I think that's where you got whacked. So I think when you hit your chin, if you just think of physics, you hit your chin here, your brain slams. And there's all these sharp ridges in your brain. So
that stays with you. I mean, that's what you're saying.
But we can repair it.
Okay.
Like I did the big NFL study when the NFL was sort of lying about traumatic brain injury in football. And 80% of my players get better when we put them on a rehabilitation program. But you have to be serious about it. So if I'm trying to fatten up your brain, you don't want to do things that shrink it.
Yeah.
Now, the image on the right, blue is average activity, red is the top 15%, white is the top 8%. So white's like the really busy part of the brain, and it should be here in the back. When we look at your scan, it's busy here in the back, but your emotional brain is busy as well. Now, some of that could be past trauma, maybe some of the things you didn't tell me, or it could also be COVID, fire. So my strategy is let's calm it down. So what are we going to do? Brain and body power, 2 packets a day, multiple vitamin.
Okay.
Unless you have a perfect diet, I think all of us should take it. High dose, high quality fish oil, and a brain boost that will help your memory.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be the most important. Brain curcumins 2 a day to decrease inflammation.
Okay.
And help you with the post-COVID stuff.
Okay.
So this is our plan.
That's so great. Okay, I'm excited.
Questions?
I don't think so. I'm just, I feel armed with goodness. I feel a little relieved that you didn't tell me I'm dying or something. Well, we're all dying, but if there's anything alarming there that I need to panic about. So this is great. I like information. I like this plan. I like that I have supplements now that I can take that I know are going to be applied to my personal needs. And I like when I have work to do. It sounds like I have a little work to do.